Hey everyone, this is the Kubeflow trainer call on 4th of March. As always, we're going to record this call and going to publish on YouTube and we follow the CNCF code of conduct. So please be welcoming to each other. Just remind everyone, if you want to join this call, please check out this Google Doc. Like we have this information on how you can join these calls, how you can view the calendar, and also you should be able to see the past recording using this YouTube playlist. So please feel free to check out the last recording from our last conversations. Just before we get started, like any new people here on the call who just want to say hi and introduce yourself to the community, um, feel free to use chat or unmute yourself if you want to say hi. Otherwise, we will get started.
Yeah, hi. For the past week, I've been attending meetings, and yeah, I'm Digvijay, currently a G-Shock candidate. Previously, I have worked with a scientific computing library. Yeah, and looking forward to optimization job project.
That's great. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Um, Anyone
Yeah,
else? Yeah, good.
hi, I'm Sridhar. I am also new to the Kubeflow community, and I have been contributing some small issues and pull request of it.
That's great. Thanks for joining. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Yeah.
hi Andre. I'm Samir. You already know me. So I've been contributing in Kubeflow since Jan. So I'm here to present my views on optimization job CRD. I have few ideas and discussions.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. You're exciting to talk about it. Thanks, Rob. Um, all right. So anyone else so we can get started? Okay, so just I think quickly maybe before we jump to the this optimizer proposal we're going to talk today, I want to quickly talk about the release. So I think we need to finalize the release relatively soon. So hopefully this week or early next week we should do the first RC because the timeline for we're kind of like planning to have to do two before KubeCon. So I really want to have RC relatively soon. I think there are a couple of pending PRs we need to get an agreement on. Before we jump to the main one for runtime patches, I want to give you an overview. Like we merged the JAX runtime PR. We also have this pending PR for change of progress on the ROP you're working on. So my question is like, do you think we have enough time to finalize it in 2 weeks, the implementation for the progress PR?
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get address all the comments by the end of this week, and then I guess it sort of depends on how much more review you think there might be. But yeah, if we have
Okay.
another round early next week, it's feasible. I don't know what you
Uh,
think.
do yeah. Do you think we can do instrumentation also, right? Because like what our
Yeah,
plan?
I had a conversation with Abhijit today about that, and I think we can. I think there might be some design work that still needs to be agreed on that. I think what we were planning on doing, what we were thinking of doing, is putting up a PR and sort of saying here's how we thought we might do it, and then get
Mhm.
feedback that way. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, so like basically like the have the control plane first and then build the client side, right?
Yeah. So yeah, the instrumentation would be in the SDK.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Like UK or Antonio, like what do you think from your perspective? Like, do we want to include this into the two, the server side of things?
Sorry, so I missed the point here.
Yeah, so this is the work stream around train job trainer metrics, right? Which allows us to report metrics from the application all the way to the train job CRD. Um, Wondering if you think we can merge this before release to include this as part of the two.
So did this so my question is did this PR already get any PR reviews by reviewers, other reviewers?
Yeah. So Antonian actually and also myself reviewing this the first time. But we still need to work on something around, especially the how the plugin will work and other things. But API might look okay because we agree on the API on the cap, right? Um,
Yeah, so
change of trends.
if we already agree the API definitions, I think we can contain this PR in the next 2.2 versions. And if we have any discussion point, we can postpone the discussion point implementation to the after the next release 2.3, whatever release.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so let's like from your from your time perspective, like do you think you would be able to help us, or like we should just rely on like my review, Antonio and Akshay's review to move forward if we find with this? What do you think? Um,
Yeah, for sure. So I can help review in that PR, but I'm not sure if we can handle the review as a primary reviewer in the PL.
okay, okay, that sounds good. So then I guess like we can finalize this decision by end of this week, right? Depends on availability.
Yep, sure.
All right. So I think other things for the Flux. So for me, again, the Flux PR is ready to go. I think we've been discussing this for a while already, and I think we've done some progress with Vanessa around improving the orchestration. So if you don't have any objections, I just waiting for like Antonio or you to give LGTM, and we can move forward with with Flux support as well. Um, all
Right.
right. Yeah. Good.
Doesn't.
Okay, Flux PR, then this change of progress. I think we also have this depending one around XGBoost, which I think also almost ready. I don't know if let me see. Do we have actually a contributor who working on XGBoost support for change job here on the call?
Yes. Hello, Andre.
Yeah. Hi, Christian. Like, do you think it's might be ready or you still need to have some work?
Yep. It's ready. It's ready.
Okay. Um, yeah, so then I guess like we can. So the end-to-end will become on a separate PRs, right? This is the only thing we need to work on, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have an example working in XGBoost in your PR? I think we do, right? Um,
Yes, we do have an example.
all right. Yeah, I think including XGBoost into the two, I think this is something what we target. So definitely let's maybe finalize. I think it's very, again, like it's very uh, non-controversial. So, and we already have all the good implementation here. So we should be fine. We just need to ensure, like the E2 is at least functional, right? As a follow-up, right? PR. Um, Okay, so I think XGBoost should be fine, and the last one is the resource timeouts for TTLs, right? I think we do have this um, painting, right? Let me see timeouts, XGBoost timeouts. I think it's an issue. Give me a second. Yeah, active deadline seconds, right? So we only introduce active deadline seconds API first, right? Do we have Yash? I guess Yash here on the call. I don't think he is. No, he's not here right now. But again, like if this implementation, I haven't really got chance to take a look at this, but if we think we can do this by end of this week, we can merge it. Otherwise, we'll postpone it, right? Then it should be fine. All right. Any other questions for this remaining, for guess 4 PRs we should merge? And the runtime patches we will talk afterwards. So any objections like Yuki or from your side on these PRs?
Which PR runtime patches, right?
Yeah, I'm asking about these four we kind of like need to merge this week or early next week.
This week? Oh, I see. Yeah, basically, I already reviewed the API perspective in every PR, every 4 PRs, right?
Okay, yeah, I think
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah. So I want to delegate the implementation margin decisions to you all.
Okay, okay, that sounds good. So then I guess like if if it is fine, we can just move forward. So for runtime patches, just to give you an overview, I think we have this long discussion around what we should do with the template override API, and we kind of like want to introduce the breaking change to ensure we have a clear ownership of the overrides, and like we need to we want to do this before to do two because this will be a breaking change for all the users of train job. And what we kind of like end up with, we want to have a new API called runtime patches, um, where we don't have a target job. So the runtime patches API looks like, 1 second, let me give you an example here. Yeah, it looks like this. So because theoretically, like the idea of the overrides API was to add additional uh, uh, add additional patches on top of the default runtime we deploy to the cluster. Like for example, like if Q or other managers want to inject some custom like node selectors, we want to give a way for API to propagate this field to the underlying job, to the underlying job set or to underlying, like other type of CRD we want to support. And initially the idea was to use pod template override API, but we end up that it's really hard to override other parameters like job template spec or job spec or job set spec. And we kind of like want to maybe introduce just a simple runtime patches API, which actually the valid patch which can be applied to the underlying runtime before change job is created. And this gives us additional opportunity in the future to expand it if we, for example, want to patch not only pod template spec, but also job spec and job set spec, and even runtime spec. Like for example, like if in the future we find use case when user want to update API implementation on every run, so this API will give us enough flexibility to do so in the future, not like in the initial implementation. And this is an example how it looks like for Q when Q needs to. Yes, or this is not for Q. So I think this is for Q. When Q needs to inject, like for example, custom node selectors. Um, what is example how like the manager, the client, the Kubeflow SDK can inject some parameters to the volumes, right? To user volumes. Um, so I guess my question is here on the call, any objections with this API to move forward? Like anything we're missing here that's, yeah, go ahead, Yuki.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so as we discussed internally offline, so basically the API looks great. But my thinking is I want to decouple job set concept from train job,
Yep.
but the current train job has job set spec patch type type D, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Um, mhm.
So yeah, so let me question. So the my core question is why do we need additional training runtime spec patch nest? Why
Yeah,
not?
so yeah.
Yeah,
hmm
go ahead.
So I think that's right. So I think like we discussed before, in the future we might want to support non-job set based runtimes. But for example, like growth runtime or I don't know, like Slurm runtime or any other CRD we want to support upstream. And why we need to have union here, because like I think we agree that runtime should only have a single template, which means like cluster training runtime using job set. But maybe growth runtime will use spot click set as a template. And if we don't have a dedicated spec field here, there will be no way for us to define union, right, under runtime patches. Um, but the problem is like I think we want to support some runtimes upstream, but we should find a way for users to also support like downstream runtimes, right, with their own custom CRDs. And for this, I kind of like want to introduce the opaque runtime, which like this won't be implemented right now, but this gives us kind of like a future extension how this can be supported by arbitrary runtimes, right? Um, does it answer your question, Yuki? Like, why do we need training runtime spec here? Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
understand. So the remaining point is I want to eliminate the job set terminology from this type of name.
Mhm.
Can we consider another candidate?
Do you mean like you want to remove job set here, or like you like job set is not mentioned in the API? It's mentioned only in the struct, right? In the type.
Yes, but struct is also API. Template is YAML API name, and
Yeah,
job set template patch is Go API name, right?
yeah,
So this
that's right.
is
That's
still
right.
part of API name.
So you mean like if yeah, but how I see. But like in that case, how we can introduce some job set specific overrides here if we need to in the future? Like what if
No,
someone
no,
want to
no.
yeah,
So
good, good.
I don't have any objections to introduce the additional template nest here. I just want to rename this type the name.
Yeah, so job set template to which name do you want to rename it?
Um, so yeah, let me read comment after this meeting. So I just
Okay.
wondering if we can rename this one.
Yeah, just to clarify, like I put the job set template patch here because if we want to have a patch to the job set spec, this will be the job set spec here. So basically, as you can see here, we have job set spec patch, another job set spec patch. We do have replicated job because this should be a valid job set patch at the end. That is why, I have this job set spec patch struct here, which right now only has replicated jobs, right? Because we only support overrides to the pod template. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
understand why this nesting API field is
yeah,
matter here. Uh, but API name, I want to reconsider Go type the name because
yeah, I see.
we already have training runtime reference fields which
Mhm.
point to training runtime. And training runtime has already job set template, which
Okay.
implies when we specify training runtime as a training runtime reference in train job, which
Hmm.
implies train job is tied into job set, right?
Yeah, that's
In
right. That's right. Yeah.
yeah,
I think yeah.
but yeah,
You go good.
but I need to consider the another name. Yeah.
I
So
understand. I think this is a valid point. I think like what I want to say here, yes, we make train job tightly to job set. And I think the idea, if we want to go ahead with the training runtime spec API, we kind of like we need to enumerate all the templates we're going to support upstream. Like as I mentioned before, whether it's Growth or whether it's Slurm or whether it is, Flux, mini cluster. So this we will have this tightness. But at the same time, I was thinking about a future extension to also introduce this opaque runtime, right? Opaque runtime spec, which actually represents the raw extension, which allows to users to create the raw patch, which they will be responsible to make sure they follow the spec which their runtime actually implements, right? Um, yeah, but let me give like Kevin, I also see your hands up. Ask your question first, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was just curious, like this won't work with job set right now, right? We
Um,
don't allow patch. I mean, I guess is the idea that this would cause a complete recreate.
yeah. So today patches, so they applied before train job is created. So basically, what we do when train job is created, we merge values from runtime and from train job, and we create a job set, which means those patches they applied before job set is placed on the control plane. Um,
Okay,
which yeah, and
so this is
yeah,
immutable and not, and it's not. We're not considering in scope like this being applied on a running job.
yeah. We want to make this mutable, but not all the fields. So only specific fields are mutable, like scheduling directives, because Q needs to inject them in the run, like when the train job is suspended, right? But the majority of fields are immutable. Like for example, image. I think I have it here. Like containers are immutable, image pool secrets are immutable, volumes are immutable, right? It's only like very specific fields which are mutable, like scheduling directives for now, right?
But with the raw time, oh sorry, with the runtime extension though,
Yeah,
if we did that future, that is a much
yeah,
harder thing to enable immutability on those
yeah,
fields.
yeah. Yeah, it's a good point actually. I was thinking a bit on this. I don't know if we can, design like, clever way to detect if the raw extension has the valid pod template and then enforce mutability. So this, I think, we need to talk in the future, right? Because yes, like you're right, like in the raw extension, there is no way for us to enforce mutability, right? Or immutability. But at the same time, like we've been discussing, like how Q will work with such runtimes, right? Because right now, Q integration with Q, we have a strong we have a strong connection to the job set. So, for example, like if tomorrow we will support, I don't know, pod click set, Q cannot really understand this. And we should talk in the future, like how Q can support this dynamic client orchestration for change job, right? Um, in a way that Q needs to know like how to inject these values, right? Um, yeah, Antonio, you have hands up as well.
Yeah, just before I go back to my point, you can still enforce immutability or the validation in the raw extension, like, but in a webhook, in a webhook, you can decode it, and I guess you can do whatever you want as a validation. It's just that it's not going to be done. You cannot do it statically in the CRD or via cell, but I guess you can do it with a webhook.
But sorry, like on this point, but in that case, the schema should be in
Well, the
change,
schema,
right?
yes. Well, then the schema, it has to be known at
Mm-hmm.
runtime. So which leads to my point, I guess. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
if I'm trying to for maybe the folks in the call that don't have the full context, but even I'm trying to somewhat summarize it in a way that help to converge. We are moving to a model where we were using the podspec template because that was the common denominator that everybody in
Yeah,
the ecosystem support are familiar with. So now we are moving away from it, from that common denominator, to more specialized
yeah,
templating mechanism. So indeed we have like two options. Either we go with the raw extension, so it's a completely opaque blob, YAML blob, and it makes it a little bit harder to do some whatever you would need to do with a more strongly typed approach. Or we go with the what you've somewhat already presented, a
yep,
generic mechanism. Like it's generics basically, where we would have, and I think in practice it's going to be a very small set of actual types that we are going to support as runtime, as string runtime. So to the original point that I was trying to make based on the name, even on the Go struct, based on Yuki's comment, that conceptually it's a job set template. Like you can name it the way you want, but like what is there is a job set template. The whole nested struct there is based on the job set definition, I guess, right? So
yep,
I mean, you've named it according to what it is actually conceptually. So yeah, I don't think that even renaming it to something more generic would make it work. I mean, because that's a job set. And then, as you said, we could imagine that we have a couple of others. Like we don't necessarily have to be opaque. It could be the one that we support, and like that Q also symmetrically would support them.
yeah.
Based on the assumption that practically they are not going to be that much that we have to support.
Yeah, I think what I was thinking about on this point, like we do support some of the runtime upstream, like the open source version
Oh,
of
yeah, I
CRT
see what you mean.
runs,
Yeah. So that's
and there will
another
be
point.
there
Yeah,
will be union here, right?
the ability to actually extend that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is tricky. So yeah, that's the ultimate thing.
Yeah, my thinking was, like we do support right now. We have only training runtime and cluster training runtime. So if tomorrow, community decide like we want to support like Flux mini cluster, we do support, Flux runtimes, and which will create the Flux mini cluster CRD. So we do have a way to extend this runtime patches API to support another type of spec, right? For this
Yes.
specific runtime.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Which I understand
yeah,
is the reason why you've named the field training runtime spec
yeah,
instead of
exactly.
like
Yeah. This was
exactly.
my
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense because the spec was the problem, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
you can.
Yeah, so to Kevin, so okay, Q point of view, I don't think this API is not a problem, because so Q train Q side train job integration doesn't have any API rebel API rebel something, so we can change anything anytime, right? Additionally, Q train job integration is still alpha phase as far as I know, and we will we means Q will introduce dynamic client um usage in their integration controllers. So in that case, so I think we can do uh, anything anytime when we support when Q4 train job supports arbitrarity during runtime supports. Yeah, this might be just comment.
Don't quite follow, but I guess I do know that we, at least internally, do have people like wanting to use this integration. So I mean, maybe we don't have it under a feature gate. So it's my understanding that we're not going to break the integration with Q and train job.
Yeah, exactly good
Yeah.
point. So actually, so in Q side, we do not have any feature gate for all integration controllers. So either we want to introduce such feature gate or feature maturity level specific for the Q integration controllers. But I think that is another discussion point. Let's discuss the point in Q side issue or meetings. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that would be good.
Yeah, I think the OPEC idea definitely interesting. We should explore this. But I think for now, like, we should at least agree that if, yes, it'll be titlenless to the job set, and yes, that's actually not something we initially want to have. But I feel like, this API will give us enough flexibility in the future to support other runtimes, right? Like, and at least this will not really block us if tomorrow customers come to us and say, hey, we want to update the specific part of the job API as, for every train job submission. Because with the pod template API, there is no way for us to do so unless we, introduce new APIs. So um, I hope that makes sense. So anyway, so I guess like next steps. Let's like one maybe we can give one day for folks to comment on this and start to actually do implementation because I think this is the most important thing we need to do before to do two, right? Um, I hope that makes sense. All right, any other questions for this? Um, yeah, I also was thinking about this case we discussed last week, like Vasilis with you around dynamic GPU allocation, like how you can have a model which can predict the number of GPUs it can allocate. So I would love for you to also take a look on this updated API so you ensure this use case will be supported. Especially once I know, like Kevin, you're working on mutability of container resources, which you also need to integrate this capability into the train job. So at the end, like all these things should kind of, you know, come together to, better support GPU utilization for train jobs. Um, and we have several blockers on the job side, and the job site side as well. Um, Yeah, go ahead. Please.
So I had a quick look, and I think overall it makes sense. But I like the comment you made, which was, let's get this going at the basic level. Let's get the most common route in. And then if
Yep.
we can think of more advanced things, we learn them on in follow-up gaps. But I will leave
Yep.
my comments as is on this gap.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, Yeah, so I think quickly, I know like we want to spend time on the optimization job API, on optimization job CRD right now, but maybe I just want to give an overview. We do have created this pin like work in progress PR for the roadmap 2026. I think we already have a lot of great features we pushed to the two, which will be released in March. But we try to kind of like summarize like the features we hope we'll push in 2026. I think there are a couple of, I try to identify a couple of key areas I think might be good for us to focus on, like scaling and scalability around, like we do a lot of work with the Kubernetes community to ensure we can integrate with the workload aware scaling, like the workload API. We work closely with six scaling folks and the batch working group to ensure the workload API works well for train job. So I think this is something we also work on the job set side. So like the workload API also will be there, and this actually allow us to have much like other integrations like with DRA and also with like preemption, like workload aware preemption and other interesting features Kubernetes community going on. So I think this is something definitely we should pursue in 2026. um I think other topics like around other schedulers like Kai, like we already I think started some of this work in on their side. Around like the multi-node and the link, like I saw some comments like from folks we should definitely talk about it more. I think the idea was to see how we can like the outcome is to ensure the train job can be optimized for GB200. And we need to figure out like the way how we can integrate with DRA, with compute domains, so we ensure we have the right device placement. And I understand like that this has some overlap with topology aware scaling we do on the workload side. So my hope like at some point we should talk about how those things will work together to ensure we have a good placement for GB200 and some other topology awareness integrations. And of course, like we do integration with Q and like with the other parts of scheduling ecosystem. I think on HPC side, I think there are a lot of work going on with Flux, which is really interesting because I think we want to, well, once we have Flux in upstream, I was thinking about we can also maybe introduce, PMIX support of MPI, which previously was not possible, like an MPI operator, which is interesting to explore how it can work with Flux. So I think like some of the HPC based use cases might be interesting to explore if folks would be interesting. Yeah, I think around like observability, reliability, it's around like the train job progress metrics we're working on right now, the transport and checkpointing, the work we're planning to present in the KubeCon this month. Let's see like if we can end up with some API this year for train job. I think like elasticity and TTLs is something also we're working on for train job support. Yeah, I think data cache is also interesting use cases because actually it's planning to work on tensor caching if we make in this release or next release. So I think there are several innovations we can do on the data cache side to even more optimized GPU utilization, which is pretty interesting and to explore, especially with integration with optimization job when you have like when you multiple train jobs you need to access the same data. So data cache become even more valuable for such use cases, especially with RDMA and other things we can do with streaming, etc. Um, yeah, I think like on the LM fine tuning we do have this the dynamic trainers cap going on. We have this GSOC proposals we also need to do. So my hope is we can push something to train job if some changes will be required and also SDK. So it's pretty interesting. And the runtime as well, we do support JAX already. So we will support XGBoost, Tensor Parallelism, and maybe Slurm if folks are interesting. But let's see, like, what kind of integrations to at least we get compatibility with training operator V1 once we have integration with XGBoost and with JAX. So like, folks can start migrating their jobs. And other things around the MCP server, I think also very interesting. And for like, trainer UI or train job history server is something we can talk about. Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting roadmap. Like any questions so far, like any suggestions or anything you think we should be focused on? Especially, I mean, just like from end users, like maybe they interesting in something we might be, focus on in 2026. All right, then I guess like I'm probably like we give maybe a couple of more weeks folks to comment and maybe we can move forward. I think this is pretty great roadmap for trainer, and I think definitely we should um like basically we have this we have a lot of great features. Like we need to ensure like how all those things will play together. Like for example, like I just was chatting about checkpointing because I think the feature that Rob you're working on the train job progress bar will have a great beneficial for checkpointing because once we have it in upstream, we can basically like understand like how frequent we should checkpoint train job because we know when it actually will be completed. So like I think some of those things will play together and play very nicely. And I think building the good story around actually running distributed AI workloads on Kubernetes is something we can definitely pursue. So really exciting about 2026 roadmap. All right, so like jumping next. So I think quickly, I think we want to talk about optimizer. So like Akash, is it okay if we postpone this discussion for trainer UI, or do you want to talk about it on this
Oh,
call?
that's fine. I could not add it last. That's why I added it like second last. It's fine. We can move on.
Okay. I guess like we work on heat lamp integration, right? And we already have some design doc, right, for Kubeflow plugin.
Yeah, so Alok is already here, so he is going to develop the reason we I want to discuss it here. So from headlamp, the entire his entire contribution will be over that. What my
Okay.
take or what my understanding was, if maybe him or even most of us like contributors, if you can have some issues or contribute there, so it will be benefit for both the communities, headlamp as well as for us. I think we do
Yep.
have in the trainer as well, we have to have upstream issue for that. So I
Yep.
think maybe we can discuss this further after that regarding.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think my only recommendation, like for you, Akash, like if you can tell them that they only need to support the newest CRDs, so they only support train job,
Okay.
optimization job, right, and cluster
Yeah.
training runtime. Because like like I understand we still have users from PyTorch jobs and TF jobs, but
Yeah.
our like goal is to deprecate eventually the CRDs.
Mhm.
Um, so like if you can update their doc to ensure like they align with our CRDs, I think they should be fine.
Right. Sure, sure. Alok is here. Anyway, I'll update the doc. I had conversation with Ren
Yeah.
as well, who's the maintainer from Microsoft for this. So
All right.
probably I think if you remember, he also posted in our Qflow channels whether he wanted support. Tarek, by the way, from Qflow is also there. So maybe once
Yep.
you start, they'll start with like their at least basic setup. We can help there or suggest there what exactly we would suggest. Of course, I mean depends on how they want to do it or not. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That sounds good. Yeah, like Alok, let me know if any questions, like what kind of CRDs we wanna integrate. But I think this would be interesting to see, right? Um,
Mm.
all right, sounds great. So I think quickly on the website, I created this issue before. Like I still think we need to have a dedicated website for trainer because I think we have a momentum here. I think we should continue doing this. I see a lot of support from folks on the issue committee on the issue. I guess next steps. If someone like want to volunteer and drive this, like maybe if you can propose some of the kind of styling ideas and like what kind of like framework we would like to use for trainer, I think this would be something maybe interesting to explore and see what we can do. Um, yeah, Sridhar, yeah.
Yeah, so I was looking into the Kubeflow SDK pull request, the one made
Yep.
for the Kubeflow SDK website. So they had used strings and read the docs, right? So what if we use the same tech stack to have a uniformity?
Yeah, we can definitely. I think we can see, read the docs. Yeah, I think they're good. I'm trying to understand, uh, like how flexible then in terms of the styling, because the Kubeflow SDK, like we have a dedicated um, um, docs for, I guess, where is the documentation? I think is here, right? Yeah, so we need to find a way how we can split docs between operators and users on the. So first of all, we need to understand what will be in the documentation, right? Because we do have user docs, we also have operator docs. So how we can ensure we correctly represent here um, would be interesting to see, right? Yeah. Akash, there was something? Yeah, good.
Yeah. So Sridhar, even I agree with that. I remember, and if like when Anya started with that, she had a POC. Then we kind of improvised on that, and then we had. So
Okay.
maybe if Sridhar, you want to work upon that, can you start at least in your work at least a basic POC? We can review once,
Okay.
depending on how it goes. We'll see, because idea remains same. We don't want to maintain a like full fledged where everybody has to edit each time. We want to automate some of that. So Qflow SDK is one of them, like the how documentation is generated. But apparently, again, our use case is slightly different from SDK one. So maybe if you can experiment and let us know how it will be, that would be good for all of us.
Yeah, maybe also explore, Netlify, we can use Netlify, maybe see what Ksurf is using, maybe what others like LMD or other communities are using. Maybe just, summarize what kind of options we have. And maybe we can discuss this, one of our next calls, what options, what framework we can choose to integrate, right? And have a consistent experience, right? Like maybe explore JobSet's website or other Kubernetes website, right? Um, it's a good thing to have, right?
Yeah.
All right, so then I guess I want to give time for folks to talk about optimization job CRD. I guess yeah, I see actually on the call, right? We have Anikit. So Anikit, do you want to give an overview for this proposal? And maybe we can quickly discuss it.
Yeah, so the design first, we are trying to refine our whatever Go types we want to use, define the schema. So we are at that right now. Once we do that, we'll move forward with the shared initialization and other features that we want. I guess folks had a few comments on the schema. I'll wait for you and Akshay to review this first also, I believe.
Just the high level question, just do you have a set of features we want to support in optimization job CRD?
Yeah. So basically, firstly, we want to integrate it with the train job API that the SDK
Okay.
has, and integrate it with the SDK's optimizer client API. That's our main goal. And also, we want to support the a model support for a model initialization, which is shared across all the trials. We don't have to initialize the data again and again for each trial.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was thinking, yeah, go.
No, go ahead. Yeah, waiting for you.
Yeah, I think maybe so having the high level goal. So first of all, I think we need to review what we support in Katib today, Katib experiments. Like for example, I know we have a goals here, right? But explaining, so enumerating all the features we support in Katib, like for example, NAS, right? Like we won't support NAS, or we won't support pool-based metrics, like metrics collector in general. Like, do we
Correct.
need to have a database? Like, probably we don't need database initially, right? We don't need to store metrics because we will rely on the solution we have in the train job API, right?
Right.
Um, so having this somewhere defined, I think this is what we need, because then I guess it would be easier for us to define schema, right, in API.
Yeah. So the non-goals do contain that uh, we won't
Okay,
support the NAS one and
okay,
the metrics collector.
okay,
Along with that, the resume policies that from that Katib experiment has. So I
okay.
think these are a few points, but we can obviously iterate on this.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Uh, yeah, I think I was also thinking about it would be nice to actually add what would be the example? Like take an example with Katib and how you would use it with the occupation job CRD with this new work. What would be the change for on the API, not just specifically on the API side, but how would the exact example map to this work?
So
I
one
think
question. Oh yeah. When you say change, do you mean from user's perspective or from a developer's perspective right now?
from the developer's perspective. So
Okay.
how would we map the exact example what we have with experiment CRT, um, and what we on a high level like what we won't
Yeah,
support, as you
if I
mentioned, the
may interrupt
non-coders.
the discussion, like I have covered this exact part in my doc that I've commented. So it maps what exists already in the experiment CRD to the what we have to make in the optimization job CRD. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you could just open it up,
Le-
there will be a
Yeah.
map.
Um,
So let's have it in the same like one doc on
yeah.
um on the actual design. And also, I think one question probably, I think I haven't looked at the complete design doc yet. I'll probably take a look this week. But so I know that from SDK we are using train job as it is right now, like the train job spec for the trials.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we still need the API version coming from the SDK, or should the API version be auto handled by the optimization job controller itself? Because we do have a API version for CR, optimization job CR. So why do you want to expose train job version?
Right. I believe we can integrate it with the CRD. Uh, that should be the best way to do it. But do we have a precedence on if this has been done before? As in, are there any
Yeah. So
drawbacks to
current
it?
as
Yeah.
um I think not the drawbacks would be like the
Because the version
the
alignment, right?
yeah,
Between
version
optimization
alignment
job and train job.
from the users, yes. And so it would be so basically if we just use the API version from the directly the train job, the users would need to provide that version all the time. Right. Let's say tomorrow if you want to have a new feature, probably it's easy on the client side via SDK if you support it. But if there are any other issues with API change that probably the controller would need to be aligned with its own API version.
Hmm.
So probably that might be tricky,
Yeah, I
right,
think, like,
Andre?
yeah. So I mean, I can imagine that, like users might want to run alpha feature of train job in beta feature of
Yeah.
optimization job, right? So I think
Mhm.
like once we have the dynamic versions, like multiple version support in the train job, we need to support is multiple versions in optimization job, right? Because those features will, those two APIs will drive independently, right? It's completely new API which we will develop, right?
Mhm.
Which basically we need to support the API version. On the SDK side, like, we can think about how to manage it, but we need to have this trial template here. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Mhm.
I guess, uh, yeah. I mean, a couple of things around the features, like the initializer. I think we need to have discussion around this because I don't think this solution will work. Because the problem is like today, if we want to use initializer with train job, so you kind of reference to the runtime, and we plan to support initializer plugin within the train job. So for example, like when users specify initializer in the API, we will automatically add
Yes.
the volume claims, right? So this is not yet
Yes.
supported in train job, right? And we need to have this support.
Yes.
I don't,
Yeah, this is
yeah.
pending yet. Yeah,
No.
I think I'll be working on the train job support for this, but probably I think that on the API side, what we wanted to make sure is that to actually specify the 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 actual dataset config or model config.
Yeah, what I was thinking about, one of the idea we can have, what if we spin up initializer only for the first trial?
Yeah.
Like, imagine like you spawn multiple trials, but you only run initializer for the first trial, and the rest of the trials won't have initializer, right?
Yeah, so that's something the controller can manage.
Yep, exactly. Like,
But would
control
it
just
be
watch. Yeah. I was thinking about, one of the idea, right? If train job has initializer API, and when you trigger the optimization job, the controller will only create train job with initializer only for the first time, on the first, job. And the rest will not have this API, right? Um,
There should be some mechanism to for the next iteration to
yeah.
remember. I mean, are we storing this in memory then? All the
Yeah.
information.
Information for what?
Once, so the initializer only works for the first iteration, as you mentioned, right?
Yep.
So, what about the next, suppose next 99 iterations? So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what?
So like, yeah, because I mean, controller will be responsible to spawn train jobs, right? So on the next iteration, it will spawn train job without initializer API, right? I think the only thing is the tricky part, how we can ensure we map the volume claim, right, to the rest of the train jobs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The PVC mount or the cache probably is just like the endpoint, but we need to map the PVC mounts to all
Yeah,
the subsequent job runs,
yeah, that's
right?
right. Mhm.
But what if we have the initializer in the no? So basically, we'll have the initializer. Even if we have the initializer in the optimization job spec,
Mhm.
the controller can do the same thing as you mentioned, right?
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
controller can add the initializer only for the initial job once we have the support. And so basically there are two things, like so the train job supporting
Yeah.
the volume the plugin approach which we talked about earlier should be decoupled from this optimization job controller.
Yeah. I mean that's probably right. And also I think we can yeah. And we can also leverage probably runtime patches, right, to inject volume claims, right?
Yeah.
This also could be a workaround, right? Because for the first we need to create the actual volume claim. I mean, so there are two type of initialization from cache. We need to bootstrap cache only on the first time, right? But the other trials need to just access this cache. But in the case when you
Yes.
initialize, model using persistent volume claims, right? You need to create
Mhm.
the PVC only for the first trial, right?
Yes,
That,
that's true. Yeah.
okay.
So the PVC installation would be for only for the one time. We
Yeah.
just need to reuse the PVC. So probably we need to we need to see how we can implement that on the train job side, support in the train job side. But the
Mhm.
controller here would leverage the that feature. But here the
Okay.
initializer is just to make sure that when the user is submitting the job, they just need to they specifically mention about like the assets, the training assets in the high level as
Yeah,
a
that
top level
that makes
entity,
sense. That
not
makes sense.
specifically under the train job.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, so I guess so let's try to review this proposal. I mean the API. Let's have a few examples
Yeah.
here, maybe how it looks like. I think also so having all I mean, I understand we have no goals already here, but like we need to go exactly over every feature we support. Like for example, early stopping. Like, do we have any mention about early stopping here? Um, or I don't know, like metrics, how it's called, like the metrics, um, not push-based
The
metrics,
push
but
metrics.
I think we do support also the let me see, 1 second. Uh, metric strategies, I think it's called strategies.
Mm.
Yeah, actually, it's been a while, but I think there are a couple of things we support, and we need to explain, what we're gonna do this with in the V2, like in the optimization job. So, like Aniket or like sorry, if you can go over all of the docs of Katib and understanding like what we do support today, and at least we should mention this in the doc here clearly, like what is our goal to support such features, right? Like one of the question come like I think a couple of days ago around PBT, like population based training, right? Like some of the algorithms required for us to analyze the process on the fly, right? Which is different from like algorithms like Bayesian optimization, right? Or like simple random search. Um,
Right.
like how we view this be supported in optimization job, right? Um, um,
Yeah,
so yeah,
so
this
Yeah.
yeah.
I was thinking about checkpoint based logic for PBT basically. So the
Hmm.
current PBT that is supported in Katib does not actually, there's a structural break there. It doesn't support distributed training, right? So uh, I was thinking, and there's also the question of where this project lives, right, in Katib or trainer, right? So I was thinking that uh, if we were to support PBT in later on stages as well for distributed training, so KTEB and trainer have separate roles already. And if we wanted to stop training midway, and then let's say there is trial A and there's trial B, and the suggester decides that trial A is superior and trial B has to copy trial A.
Hmm.
Right. So, if we were to implement that logic in KTIP again, which is already there in trainer, that B should copy everything A does, right? For that, we can
Yeah.
just implement an API that calls trainer from KTIP. So I think that makes it clear that we have to have this project in KTIP only, right?
Uh, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I think we will start with, putting this under Katip and we can potentially rename this project to something else, like optimizer or like whatever we call it. Right. Um, but I mean, I tend to agree with you that, we don't have a strong tightness to train job, right? Like the thing is like train job, like in the way how it's been designed, it can, use for many, many different things. Even for inference, like even for training, even for RL, you can basically use this for many different purposes. Um, yeah, but like we don't need to really have this strong, you know, placement there. And I think we discussed it last actually 2 weeks ago, right? I mean, if in the future we will end up that, you know, we will want to move this project, we can make this, happen in the future, right? It's fine. I think the first step just have an API, right? Upstream.
And also regarding early stopping, there is
Hmm.
like KTEB supports median rule, right? Already, like if it
That's right.
is the current is less than median, you stop it.
Yeah.
So we can just it's implemented via like a metrics collector, right?
Hmm.
So maybe we can include that in the optimizations of CRD as well.
Yeah. Or maybe they should be supporting entrainment directly, right? Because
Yeah,
the overfitting is very useful for like, even training, right? Without HPO. Yeah, I think this is a great discussion. I think we should definitely, have this, I would say, long-term vision. So I think like so the next steps in the doc, like we should have like kind of like our long-term vision on this API, and like it doesn't mean we need to implement everything, but at least we need to make sure the API is forward-looking, right? So like in 2 to 3 years, like we can actually extend it, right, and support other things in terms of optimization, and at the same time, some features may be pushed directly to train job if we like know how to make it better or like to how to support other useful features, right, for users.
so also
Yeah,
like Traytune does, right? Should we treat suggesting and scheduling as
yeah,
two separate tasks?
yeah. I think this is also like one of the idea I had in mind, that's in the Raytune, so the
Mhm.
scheduler and the algorithm servers, they're
Yeah,
separate.
it's separate. Yes,
Yeah. And algorithms which require like like the hyperbands or PBT that need
yes, yes.
schedulers. Yeah, I think this is such. Yeah, I mean, if this will work, we probably want to implement these algorithms in the way that how Raytune is managing it, right?
Yeah. So if we were to follow that method, it makes sense to implement this in Katib
Yep.
and leave trainer as it is.
Yep.
And also, if you could just pull up my doc and if you could just suggest some changes in it, it would be nice.
Yeah. Okay. Can you share your
And
docs?
I
Sorry, like
pasted in the Zoom chat.
oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, I know we were time, like, folks, feel free to drop, like, I have a couple of minutes to finalize it, but, like, maybe, um, I just was trying to, like, how we can, stitch these docs together, like, what do you think? Um,
Maybe we can
Once I think
put a
once
tracking issue to separate them.
yeah, Nikit?
yeah once we review the doc and we find where where more information is required for each feature, then we can pick those things up from this doc wherever necessary, I believe.
Yeah, I would suggest, maybe having subsections. So, like, sorry, if you can review the Aniki doc and maybe, find the missing pieces, just suggest this, here, like some parts of from your doc, so we can at least have the statements around, scalars, PBT, and then discuss it, right? Because I want us to actually, work on a single doc to suggest comments and questions, and we can refine it, right, later. Like, does it sound good to you, Anikit, as well?
Yeah, sounds good, Andrew. Yeah. Also wanted to ask if there is a consensus on the initialization part. As in, do we want it inside the optimization jobs struct, or do we want it separate?
Yeah.
As we
So
were
I think what Akshay is talking about, I think it makes sense. I need to just think on this more, like how it works from the train job perspective. Yeah, but I think this maybe will be make it cleaner, right? Right, to put it in the spec directly.
yeah,
Um,
otherwise we'll have to decouple
mhm.
it somehow and ensure
Yeah,
that doesn't leak. The memory leak might also be an issue then.
yeah, and it will be less declarative, right? Because we like it's very tricky what we do. And like so how we inject the parameters, like we're gonna use the same approach with replacement, right? Of the fields. Um,
Yeah, one
Yeah,
thing I had about this substitution of strings, right? So we were using substitution of strings in the existing model. So
mhm.
I thought since we're making this already strongly typed, like, and we can avoid string replacement issues, we can just use env variables and just inject whatever we want to in that. Like,
Okay.
does that work?
Like how do you do replacement? Like, do you just inject the environment variables or like
Yeah, so basically, like I left a comment. It
okay.
just explains it.
Um,
Yeah, this key design. Yeah.
yeah. So basically, we only support environment variables, for example, right? Or like subtraction
Mhm.
of fields. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was also so thinking about this. Yeah, how like what is the most structured way to inject parameters, right? Like maybe it's a good thing for us to also explore how other frameworks like I don't know Argo or other projects within CMC are doing similar things, right? And see whether we can learn something from them, right? Or maybe track
Yeah,
from
I have
Python.
to check that out.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, so I guess the next step. So let's collaborate on Aniki doc together. Let's maybe enumerate some of the things which are missing there and have a kind of like North Star vision for this Kubernetes native optimization job API. Um, and then like we can see how we can expand it, right, to support other features. So that makes sense.
yeah. I'll go through the Katib features in depth, and
Yeah.
let's
Right. Yeah.
see.
Some of them might be missing in the doc, unfortunately, because it's been a while. But feel free to ping me if you have any questions for the features. Like maybe it's a good step to review API, experiment API and suggestion API, right? To understand all the features we support.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
makes sense.
Thanks guys for your time. Really appreciate it. Sorry for keeping you late. Thanks. See you soon. See you everyone.
See you, Andrew. Thanks.